Hello and welcome to Just a Girl and Her Firefighter. I'm Christy Homer, your host. Grab your favorite drink, whether it's coffee, fizz, or maybe something else, and let's dive into the wild, wonderful world of first responder life. We are here to swap stories, share laughs, and tackle those "did that just really happen?" moments. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just figuring this all out, this is the place for you. So kick back, get comfy, and let's have some fun. Welcome. Well, today we get to chat with Ramseys, who is the owner and founder of QRF Up, which is an incredible organization that I'm super excited to hear more about, to learn from, and to really give this as a resource to so many first responders and their families in all the different ways. Like, it's incredible. So welcome. I would love to have you introduce yourself, and then we can get going into what it is that you guys do.
Awesome. Yeah. So my name is Ramses. I am the founder and developer of QRF Up, and I have a large team that comes from a wide set of the industry of either development, nonprofit sector, or military and first responder side.
Yeah, you do have quite a large team. It's it's incredible. How long have you guys been together or in this organization?
So, believe it or not, we are a relatively young organization. We started in 2003 as a pilot, and then
Okay.
we ended our pilot program in 2024, and we launched this year.
Oh, that's incredible. So even when we've talked before, it was like end of the pilot year then, I
Correct.
believe.
It's piloting still. Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, how did this, I guess actually before we get into how, what is it that you guys do?
So the way QRF functions is a veteran first responder or family member will push a button on our application that activates an SOS that goes out in a 100-mile radius in a text message, an email, and a phone call to as many therapists that are licensed in that state under our program. Once the phone call is answered by the licensed therapist, they start triaging the caller, getting to the root of the issue, getting a safety plan together, and assessing their ideology. Once they get through that and say they resolve the situation, they push them onto our wraparound services. However, if they need physical assistance and they need, further assistance in live with a person, we will activate a QRF, a quick reactionary force comprised of peer-to-peer support specialist that will come out physically within a 100-mile radius relatively quickly. We can do it within 41 minutes and 10 seconds as of now. And get to them physically, start helping them getting to like a hotel. If there's need for food or anything, we'll take them to go grocery shopping, gas if they need gas in their car. If they need to pay a bill, we'll take them, personally, hey, let's pay this bill for you. We got it paid. And, anything that really gets them off the ledge and helps them uh, get back to rebalancing, their stress and a lot of their system.
That's incredible. And it hugely needed. And I feel like, at least in what I've seen in the past happen, is that it will be one avenue that gets taken care of. Like it'll be just this immediate mental need, or it'll be here's money for this, or here's a list of resources. So it sounds like this is very holistic, I guess you could say, and that it reaches all the avenues, like the whole person, not just one little aspect of something they're struggling with.
Yeah, 100%. So the way that it's different from everything that has been attempted. It's a true wraparound, not like a band-aid approach. We come at
Hmm.
it from finding a root to an issue with one of our veterans, first responders, or even their family members, right? We get to the root of that issue that's stressing out the whole family,
Hmm.
that keeps our first responder from being able to stay fit for duty or thinking about the job, or a veteran from deploying and being, overseas or even working here at home. We find that issue, we fix that issue, and then we continue with other services that can help them truly maintain that, healthy nervous system, keeping everybody else to have good sleep, good food, good, uh, you know, physical exercise, all of it. It's a truly innovative way of thinking about things instead of just a one-way approach. And we don't like giving resources. We like taking them. We walk you in to the resource that we have. We say, hey, this is a warm handoff to, our partner that we have here in Texas or California, New York, wherever we're at.
That's really cool. So how did this come about? Like where did this idea come from? And then how did you start it?
So realistically, it came from a place where we all used to. So I have a bunch of friends from a unit that I was in that
Mhm.
we would all FaceTime each other when one of our brothers or sisters would go into this place where they would post something on like on social media and say, "Hey, this is the end. I'm going to take my life." We would
Mm.
all react and be like, hey, who's near there? Who can get to them? And this was all through social media. And, um, we would try to help through that. And I said, there's got to be a way where somebody can hit a button. There's a GPS location that's passed out and it tells you exactly where they're at. And we could get a therapist that talks to them in the meantime. And then we could, if they need physical help, we'll get to them. And there wasn't. I scoured the internet for months and, all the applications online and everything. And finally, I contacted a developer and we put it to, he agreed to do this with us completely free at the moment.
Wow.
And, he gave us all of the things that we needed at the beginning. And then we started developing the pilot. We went to the pilot phase with therapists and responders in the state of Minnesota. And then from there, we, were able to replicate this approach in other states.
So what did you learn in the pilot program? Like, was it, I mean, assuming it's successful because now it's launched for real, but what were the things that surprised you that maybe you didn't expect?
Yes. So we learned a lot actually. So
I would
one, we
imagine.
learned that, they really enjoy the fact that we don't activate first responders immediately. Having that choice or that ability to make that choice where, look, I'm in a bad place. I feel unlovable. I've done some really bad things to my partner or myself or my kids, and
Mhm.
I need help, but nobody in my immediate circle wants to help me because I've burnt those bridges.
Yeah.
So we've learned that, people will hit a button, even if they feel unlovable or those things, they'll hit the button. And as long as we go there sincerely free of judgment with empathy and we're like, hey man, I've been in your place. I've done the relationship things where I was not the kindest or, I, cheated or, lied or any of those things, right? Where we're
Yeah.
not the best partner. And, a lot of the things comes from that. It's a relationship issues, financial issues, employment issues, making sure that our brothers and sisters really feel re-engaged with their sense of purpose was one of the bigger things we learned, aside from empathy and really having compassion for people. Because sometimes we don't see that they're fighting a battle because we're like, man, he's a firefighter. He's big and tough. Like he should be able to take all that all day. Like,
Hmm.
why is he acting like that? Or why is he exploding on somebody, or why is that officer just so angry right now? Like, he just met me today, but people don't know how many calls they've had, right? All day
Hmm.
long they've been taking calls and all of a sudden they get to you and you maybe not been giving them the best attitude and now it's you who they are going to take it out on because they're humans, they're not machines. And people really need to understand this, that, compassion for our brothers and sisters is big. We really need to have that empathy for them to understand that they see really dark things every day and they have to
Hmm.
figure out a way to compartmentalize those things and readjust and, hey, push on to the next call and go back and be like, hey, I'm happy. I'm here for you. I'm going to save your life. And it just, humans aren't created to do that, you know, hour after hour after hour without some sort of decompression.
Absolutely. I see that often. And I think about that even with like law enforcement, or we'll see something on the news about, this officer that acted this way or that way. And not that there's an excuse for it at all, but I think about like how many hundreds of other calls have they had to where they just snapped.
On
And
that
it's
one.
like just something happened or it triggered this or something like that. So I would imagine that having this in play, have you been able, I know this is a hard data thing to collect, but have you been able to see a difference in that maybe there's not as much snapping? And I'm sure there's a more psychological word than that, but see the difference in some of these situations?
Yeah, the data has really shown that people will call more frequently, right? One of the things that we've learned from like the VA vet centers and things like that, that a lot of our brothers and sisters feel like they are kind of asking for help and then they're being made to feel like they're begging
Mhm.
for it, which is really hard because this tool, again, it's free and it was created to hit that button 20 times a day if you have to. We'll talk to you time and time again and we'll come out to get you time and time again. Um, again, the thing that really helps is that anonymity behind not
Mhm.
disclosing any type of information that happens with our calls, the ability to be able to be completely yourself and it's a medical professional that's talking to you and really getting you off that ledge and talking to you about like, look, it is okay to not feel okay about that call. That call really does suck. And man, it wasn't the best experience for you. We're gonna get you set up with a primary care physician that we can give you sessions for free, and if you need to maybe re-talk to that family member to make sure they understand that like, hey, you really do care about their family member that maybe passed away or is in the hospital now, because that's a lot of the things we hear sometimes is that they never know how the call ended, right? They get them to
Exactly.
an emergency, they get them to the hospital and they just never see them again and they don't know what happened. So being able to do that wraparound where we're like, hey, we can find that closure for you. We can let you know what really happened at the end of that. Like we can do all those things for you and truly help you, get closure in some aspect or a resolution for some of the things that you've seen.
Yeah. And I see that even in my own husband, where I would say maybe three-quarters of the time, it's not necessarily something he's concerned about or thinks about more often of like what happened with that call, or especially if it's a kid. I feel like those ones are always the hardest for him. But we see that where he's like, I just don't know. Like, did we make a difference? Did we not make a difference? I don't know what ended up happening because I don't get that final solution most of the time. And we even
Yes.
had that. And he was acting as a civilian because it was at a baseball practice. And one of the parents had a medical episode and he got involved and had to help them. And the ambulance came. And, that was somebody we knew, but he was up all night, like wondering, like, because there was also some questionable things. Like, did the responding unit really handle it quite appropriately? So he was, thinking all of the different things. So, that's just one tiny, tiny example of the thousands of calls that they see so many times. So,
Yeah, and
um,
that's exactly it. Like, how your husband was thinking, right?
mhm,
That a lot of people don't understand how hard it is for a a firefighter or a police officer, EMS worker, just any of them to really have these nagging thoughts constantly, right?
mhm,
So that when we get home, it's hard to decompress from that because now we have something that's nagging us from work. We don't want to take it home, but we also don't want to burden our family members.
mhm.
And then we're trying to figure out how to balance all of it. It's really difficult.
Absolutely. Even if you're in your most healthiest state and you have all the tools, like it is still very, very challenging.
Yes.
So is your background military?
So I was military for a
Okay.
while, retired from that, and then I went over to firefighting for a little bit.
Okay.
And then from there, I went to my last thing that really took me off from working was I was a DVSA advocate for the state, and it was just not conducive to me because domestic violence, sexual assault stuff really does take a
Yeah.
toll.
Yes, I can't even imagine because even there's been a few calls. My husband is like, I can't even tell you, because it's just so evil. And he's like,
Yeah.
there's just so much darkness. And for us, we had to get through that because to me, knowledge is power. Not maybe not knowledge is power, but knowledge makes me feel better. Like if I don't know something or I'm anxious about something, if I know how it works, like know the ins and outs, that helps me. And so it was a relationship issue in the beginning, learning with this first responder world and all the different things that him having to repeat it or live in it is not helpful for him. And so I just had to know, if I don't know, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I don't need to know. It's not going to make a difference, all of the different things. But in the home side, we want to help so much that we're like, well, if we can just help you walk through it, it'll be okay. And that's not always the best solution. So anyway, that was a
It's
random
very,
thought.
very difficult for, yeah, for family members. And again, that's one of the things that we really do see here a lot is, family members that it can become very tasking on the responder or the
Mm,
veteran or, the active service members, that they have a very sometimes toxic environment at work. And then
yes.
when they come home, it's, super peaceful. So it's hard to like balance the two. So it's really something that we're trying to work on and getting them to understand that like it's okay to be in a place that's chaotic and then transition into peace. Give yourself like 15 minutes before you like just go back into the house. You know,
Yes, yes. That's one of the things I
decompress.
walk people through. We call it a reintegration strategy. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, what is that? What are you going to do that's the difference between home and work? Like, is it a workout? Is it a silent car ride? Is it sitting in your car for a little bit listening to music? Is it mowing the lawn? Like, what is that thing that's going to help you transition? Because it's two very different scenarios. Although our house is pretty chaotic, but it's not fire station chaotic. It's
Yeah.
different kind of
Well,
chaos.
yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like transition, it really does take about 15 minutes for everybody to transition from like
Yeah.
Leo firefighter back to like I'm dad again or I'm mom again, right? Like
Yeah.
I gotta be this parent to these, beautiful children and spouse that I now have to transition. And it's sometimes it's very difficult because people want to come in and just give me some minutes, give me a little bit of time, and so I can adjust to my home and then boom. But it doesn't happen for everybody. That's not there for everybody. And that's one of the biggest things we encourage is speak to your family, you know,
Hmm.
if you can't hit the button, we can all talk to you together. If you want to have your spouse on the line, they can definitely talk to us. We can help because it's one of the biggest things is including the family. A lot of agencies don't do that. A lot of VAs don't do that. Many,
Hmm.
many things aren't done because they just don't want to include the whole family. And we do. We think that that's the best way to get to a successful recovery is including everybody.
Absolutely. And then it probably also helps because I can imagine from what I've seen in the first responder world that it's hard for them to articulate even what is happening or why or any of the different things they're feeling. And so to have that third party person there can then help explain because it's like once we know, like, oh, you're not just snapping at us because we're terrible humans. It's like this is just what your brain is doing. And
Yes.
these are the things you have to work at. So that probably helps a ton to have kind of that third party person in there explaining just what is happening in their brain and how it's all now just showing in a behavior.
Correct. Yeah.
Um,
And again, where we feel the safest is where we're definitely going to be able to show our emotions a little easier, because we feel safe to be able to like say, you know, I'm not good right now, or like things like that. We can snap at our partners, but, we also have to learn that it's not their fault and they're also
yeah.
trying to be supportive. But yeah,
Yeah.
again,
It's
there's so
tricky.
many different ways that we can help. That's what truly makes us different than everybody else that, has been there, trying to help. Like the VA is one of the big ones that we talk about. I know agencies really try to help, but they just can't afford it because hiring a therapist on the force or on a department can be just so expensive. So, being able for us to support all those departments and all those agencies, getting free therapy is really huge. It's important for them, and we want to keep doing it.
Absolutely. And then one of the things I've heard a lot, just kind of in talking with different first responders, their families, different departments, is that sometimes what can happen is they'll talk to a therapist, but they're really actually not a trauma therapist, or maybe they're trauma, but not first responder. And it really seems to make a big difference. So, are the people that you have as volunteers, are they all trained or they can like specify, like, hey, I really do need somebody who's military or fire background or police, or they all kind of hit that?
So that's a great question because that is actually very specific to how we do a lot of things. So as they're getting
Awesome.
triaged, they are asked like, okay, so, you're law enforcement. Would you like another law enforcement officer to come out with us, to talk to you? And everything all our responders do not act as that capacity of their employment. They are there as responders to talk to
Like
you.
a peer support kind of
Just
thing.
it's peer to peer. Yep. We're
Okay.
just here as peers. We're here to talk to you. There is no criminality behind it. There is no type of anything that will, harm you or your family. It is all created to actually help and build that trust within our communities. And you can ask for anybody. You can ask for male, female, you know, military, combat orientated, EMS, corrections. We're integrating teachers at this point because they also have a lot of traumas that they see.
Yeah.
So we can do a variety of things with it. It's very, very flexible and, we call it malleable.
Yes.
It'll mold to anything.
Yeah, which is what you need in first responder world, in all
Yes.
of the variations of it, because none of it ever stays the same. So, well, in your background of military and then fire, and then would that be considered law enforcement, or were you working more as like a
As a
military
liaison, it was a
liaison?
liaison.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one was your favorite?
Oh man, they're all so different that they were all
They
kind of
are.
my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved them all specifically for what they were.
What would you say you liked about each one of them? And then maybe what was the hardship of each one of them?
I will say the same thing. They were all the people in them were my biggest loves.
Hmm.
Um, my biggest obstacles were bureaucracy in every job.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. And is this something you're seeing that can help kind of bridge the gap or
100%.
okay,
Yeah. Yep. So
perfect.
that's the biggest thing that we have really seen successfully integrate into departments. We are in a lot of departments already, and we see it functioning in a very good way because uh, it takes away the onus on the department and it puts it back on us where they're not having to feel responsible for the outcome of some of those conversations anymore. They just know, hey,
Mhm.
somebody's getting help. We don't really need to know the details. We just know that there is assistance for them now and they are making it through.
Very cool. And when we were talking before we hit record, you had mentioned that departments, like fire departments, can utilize this. And so
Yes.
this can be something where the departments can utilize this app, like all of their employees can have it. And then is it a protocol? Is it voluntary? What have you seen work well with departments?
So there is a mixture of things because, again, legalities behind how they feel
100%.
responsible. So some of them are willing to take it on as hey, this is a mandatory thing. If you're feeling not well, hit the button. Some of them are just letting them use it as a resource. However, we do see that the ones that are doing it as a like mandatory resource, where they're all just say they just got off a call and they get on the truck and on their way back, everybody's talking to somebody they hit the button and everybody gets to talk to a therapist. They get to talk about that call and how they felt about it. It has been very successful in those departments. Their productivity, their just mental health, wellness all around, and just in general, how they feel about their employer being able to give them that support without making them feel stigmatized, like, hey, there's something wrong with them. We need to like kick them out. Like it doesn't happen that way, at least not in those departments. But we're trying to make sure that we can do that for all agencies across the United States.
Absolutely. And it can be because one of the things I've heard a lot too about, call debriefing is it'll happen right after the call in a group, but they haven't really processed it yet enough, or they don't know, or hasn't come up again. And then that's it. And so not every department is like that, I am sure, but that has been kind of the experience I've seen. And so with this, I think you had mentioned that they will ask them, like the therapists on the call will ask them and say, would you like continued resources? We can continue to check in. Or then 3 months from now, a call happens that's similar. They can hit the button again and be like, okay, this brought stuff up. I thought I was over and I'm not, or something like that.
Correct. Yep. And that's essentially the main goal for this application, right? It's continuous work where it's nonstop. you are going to experience trauma throughout your life in
Hmm.
multitude of ways, and having a button, and we call it having a therapist in your pocket at all times,
Hmm.
is the best way to say it. And it's there for you. You can just talk to them, making sure that they can get you through the process of at least getting your nervous system to a good level, so where you can process things. That's the main thing we focus on, is recalibrating that nervous system, right? Making sure that your nervous system is relaxed again, where you can process methodically what you're going through, and then you have physical support. And, obviously viral support where we can talk to you from anywhere. But
Right.
you have tiers of support, and you know that you're not alone. We'll sit with you in the dark. We'll be there with you. We will, walk hand in hand with you, because we've been through a lot of these things and we know what it feels like to be alone, right? Like I said,
Mhm.
you know, when this application was really thought out, I wanted it to be for, the people in the departments and agencies and, militaries that think of, I am the worst person. I've burnt all my bridges. I have no hope whatsoever. I'm what people consider a monster at this point. Might as well just end it. And that's not true. It's never true. Like
Mhm.
there's redemption for everybody, and we love you and we want you here. You're worth it. Your life means a lot to us. You've been through a job that has been very rigorous and, tasking on the mind. And it took a lot from you. And I want to be your brother and sister and be here for you. I never want to be alone.
That's beautiful and incredibly powerful. Oh, you had mentioned that there, I think you'd said there's 10,000 lives that have been
To date,
saved. Hmm.
yes, to date, we've saved about 10,000 lives, probably more. We just don't really keep track of them very well because
Yeah,
we
it's hard.
like to
It's
have
hard
that
data.
anonymity. Yeah.
Yes.
With anonymity comes a lot of bad data collecting. So,
Yes, yes. So it's, I'm sure, much more than that. And this idea, or even just support for first responder, the family side, the first responders, all of it in general is so hard to collect data. It's like you want to prove that our ideas are good, but it's a
yeah.
little bit tricky.
Yeah, the biggest data we have is a phone number, right? So we just have a
Yes.
phone number and we're like, all right,
Yeah.
that's a person. We know that's a person.
Yes.
It worked. They didn't do anything, so we're here for them.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things I thought of as you were talking is, let's say, because this podcast really is geared towards the families. I think some first responders listen to it as well. But if there is a family member, like let's say there's a wife to a firefighter, because that's just my world. So we'll use that example. And they are concerned and they're noticing things and they're not sure, like, is this a big deal? Is this, like, they're just getting worried. Can they push the button and talk to
Yes.
somebody? Awesome. And does
Yep.
the
So it's for the
firefighter
family as
have to
well.
be there too? Or
No.
can it just be like, I don't know what to do. Should I be worried? Where
Yeah.
should I go?
So
Okay.
even if, like, say it's, a teenager that's like, has a father who's a firefighter, they can hit the
Okay.
button. They just tell us, hey, my dad's a firefighter. He's going through a lot. He's been really, not dealing with his emotions as well as he could. I just need some assistance. Okay, well, we just figure out what department their father's out of, and then we just send them like, hey, if you can let us talk to him at some point, we're gonna get you some therapy, but we need them to let him know that we are giving you resources so that they don't, get upset about us
Because it's a
helping
minor.
yeah.
Hmm.
We don't want them to feel like we're just taking over what parenting roles are.
Okay. That's incredible. Well, that's a phenomenal resource for the families too, to be able to even just process or ask
Awesome.
questions of like, what is happening? Why is this happening? This is incredible. I think I've said that 100 times already, but I don't know what other word to use. So how, like, where do you see this going? Like, what is your vision for this? Like, when you, now that you've seen it, it's up and running, where do you want it to go from here?
So when I first started it, I just wanted to save my friends.
Mhm.
But now that I see that it's actually functioning, I want it to be able to eventually transition into the civilian population as well. We're
Mhm.
working really hard with 988 to be able to support everybody.
Okay.
As you can imagine, the hardest part of that is funding, trying to make sure that we
Yes.
can scale as fast as we're trying to scale and support everyone. But I see this being a global thing because it's for everybody. We all have mental health issues all around. I was just on a seminar where people from all over the world were talking about mental health issues, and I just found out Korea has 29% higher suicide rate globally than anybody else. I was like, wow, that's insane. Like,
Wow. That's a
globally.
huge number. Yeah.
Yes. So it's, it's one of those things where it's obviously an epidemic that we really need to help save our brothers and sisters all around the world. And even here in the US, it's really big for us because the number coming out of the VA now is 44 a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awful.
It's a really big number. So
Hmm.
anything we can do to help is what we're here for.
Absolutely. Well, how can people get involved? So, if maybe a therapist is listening to this or somebody who wants to be a part of peer support or funding, because that is, like it takes money. So, if somebody's
Yeah.
like, we want to give money to you, how can
Um,
people get involved?
Yep. So it's an easy way. Go to QrfUp.org. There's a volunteer tab, there's a sponsor tab, and then there's a donate
Okay.
bar as well. But you can become a therapist under our organization and be able to answer phone calls. There's also a volunteer option where you can be part of the team and developmental because we're trying to get essentially the team we have here in Iowa, we're trying to build in every state, and we have it in 12 of them already, but we're trying to get every state that we live, that we have people in to have a board essentially responding to people physically. And we
Okay.
need 107 therapists per state and, or no, I'm sorry, that's the other way around. 107 responders and 14 therapists per state.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. And then you have states like where I'm in Texas, where it's ginormous. So you
Yes.
might need more.
A little more. We do have a good
Yes.
amount of therapists now, but it's hard to answer nationally with just
Yeah,
those states.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for giving us your time. It is an incredible story and very powerful for sure. And it's a motto really our family lives with is kind of two of them. One of them, like our whole philosophy is send me from the Bible verse in Isaiah of like, just send me. And that is exactly what you're doing. And then the second thing that we often say in our house is purpose in the pain. And I
Yep.
know that there must have been a significant amount of pain that has come from your life and the different service areas that you've been a part of. But to create a purpose like this is very powerful. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you for supporting us. And again, we are here for you guys, and anything you guys need, we are here for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to Just a Girl and Her Firefighter. It would mean the world to us to have you subscribe, like, share with all the people you love, and join us in our FireWife community. Thanks again, and see you next time.